My name is Nadia Myre. I'm from Montreal, Munyang, Tiohtià:ke. My origins, I'm Quebecois and Indigenous First Nations from Kitigan-Zibi Anishinabeg First Nation. My practice is multidisciplinary. I'm a maker. Yeah, I like to make things mostly through the expression of visual art. 2017, I remember very clearly, is when I first met Diane in Victoria, in British Columbia. I was there for the conference that France Trepanier had organized around primary colors, and Diane gave a very quick kind of workshop. I think it was 20 minutes around the fire moment and the storytelling aspect. And I think at that moment I kind of said, oh, I want to work with Diane. And I didn't, maybe at the time she was living in Toronto, I'm not sure, but in Montreal I heard that there was an Arrivals Legacy workshop that was happening, and I signed up. And I think that was 2018. Yeah. I felt compelled by a kind of methodology and a question moment, search for kind of an authentic practice. In visual art, I feel like we're quite trained to engage in kind of a conceptual practice, and I was looking for a different way to express, or a different kind of source. I was looking for a different way to source what I wanted to bring into my art practice, and I thought that this was a compelling way. And also, as an Indigenous person whose status but didn't grow up in community, didn't grow up with family, had a lot of kind of dislocation around that. I was super curious to kind of explore an understanding of ancestors, which in one way I feel like the work leads towards helping answer any question you have around that. Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. I just finished an exhibition that I opened last week, and although I wasn't kind of specific about calling my ancestors into the practice, I really felt for the first time guided in a way that I hadn't felt before in my practice, and guided. My father passed a few years ago, and I felt really guided by his presence throughout, albeit the exhibition was a lot about working through his archives, so I was deeply embedded. But at the same time, I really felt led to find things and in a surprising way. And also working with Diane over the last few years, I've developed a sort of somatic, kind of like an attunement, is the way I would describe it, where when I feel something is right, like the hair on my arm stands, I get those kind of shivers. And I really always wanted to know a sort of truth-telling in myself, and that's something that, yeah, I've been cultivating through the work with Diane. Where we allow ourselves to be led, basically. A lot of it is around intentionality. I didn't know I was going to be here today, for one, right? Diane invited me, and Diane said, oh, I'd really like this branch. She said it twice. So then I was like, oh, well, let me go and find a branch. And, all I had to do was step outside and turn my head, and there was kind of like the perfect branch. So in one way, it's kind of like, yeah, there's an intention of what you want, but then being open to see it in the world is a beautiful way to walk in the world. And I think that's what I mean by that statement. I was first involved as a participant, and then as a participant again, but with just one other collaborator. And then I remember when COVID happened, Diane kind of invited me into this kind of virtual moment. This is before I think she had applied for seed pool money, and that the project kind of existed. But I remember being really encouraging around like being able to still have community without being in a physical presence, but that a virtual space could hold that. I don't know how effective I was as a seed pool kind of both participant and leader. I feel like, or collaborator, I feel like you need to have kind of like a certain space and moment in time to do the work, and maybe that is harder virtually with people's really busy lives. But I did feel that it worked really well as a preempt to the last session that I was a co-facilitator with in Montreal, where a lot of the kind of work of looking through the ancestor story and history, I feel like that really developed quite well online, and that there was enough kind of time and space for that to happen. And then the moment of being in the room kind of felt like we were already kind of speaking each other's language, and the work was, we were able to kind of like dive into the work really quickly. So I think it's interesting that way. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we always talk about the intuition of an artist, but I think in visual art it's shunned, you know, that spiritual, intuitive moment is often kind of shunned. And so developing tools that allow us to kind of really access it is interesting. And in that way, I think it creates a space and an opening for others to find themselves in the work that you're doing, right? But, so it's surprising to be here. It's my timer. Does that mean it's my time? Hold on.
It's 12:30.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.